Syrian opposition delegates say they're ready to negotiate with the Syrian regime, but they hope a deal means one without Syria's Bashar al-Assad.
Some of our members see that just saying about this point represents a precondition. We don't support preconditions. We are here to negotiate, but our goal in the negotiation will be the departure of Bashar al-Assad from the beginning of transition. Thank you.
Okay. Meanwhile, the Syrian regime has agreed to a ceasefire in rebel-held Eastern Ghouta. That follows days of heavy bombardment and the deaths of dozens of civilians. Sarah Firth is in Hatay, near the Syrian border. So, Sarah, first of all, give us more details on that ceasefire and whether it's likely to hold.
Well, I think you've just got to look at what the UN Syria envoy Staffan de Mistura said in talking about this ceasefire to get a gauge on whether or not this is something to be optimistic about. And now the UN envoy was speaking in Geneva as this 8th round of intra-Syrian negotiations kicks off. But the Syrian government delegation aren't yet even at these talks. Now, what he said was that the Russian delegation that are there have said to him that they have put this proposal to the Syrian government, that there should be a ceasefire in Eastern Ghouta, this suburb of Damascus, where we've seen Syrian regime airstrikes taking place over the last days and weeks, and that the Syrian government had agreed to this. But Staffan de Mistura saying that really now we need to wait and see whether this actually takes place. That's about as optimistic as these things get at those talks. As we said, it's the 8th round, and very often you see these types of agreements made and then broken. In fact, this area in the suburb of Damascus, Eastern Ghouta, that's come under focus recently and that has been the target of Syrian regime attacks, in particular over the last couple of days, was already part of an agreed de-escalation zone that Russia had said Syria would stand by, the Syrian government would stand by. Very clearly over the last days and weeks, the Syrian regime have been ignoring that, and they have been carrying out those strikes. So whether or not this ceasefire will hold or is something to be optimistic about, as we said, in the words of the UN envoy today, Staffan de Mistura, it's a wait and see.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed for that. Sarah Firth in Hatay there.